Hello there everybody and welcome to my beginner's guide for Cogmind. In this video I'm going to guide you through everything you need to know to get some meaning into all this weird gibberish around you, get that robot rolling, and give you all the tools that you require to get destroyed again and again while conquering the world bit by bit. So, I want to get started with what you're doing. So you are a robot, and over here on this side of the screen we see all of our stats. Core is your HP. If this goes to 0, you die. This is basically the core of your being. It gets filled up after each level you pass, basically. So you get healed at the end of each level. By the way, levels are here, location -11. Each level you climb upwards is giving you a refill and some upgrades. Energy is the stuff that you use for all manner of things that eat energy. More about that later. And matter is everything that you make with matter. Bullets and recycling and manufacturing things most of the time. We have here also temperature, which is applying whenever you're doing too much heat, and movement stats. All these things I will get into back in a hot minute, but for starters, this is all you need to know. You have here a scan window, which will always show you what you have under your cursor. So everything around you is that, and you can press Z for zooming, like this, zoom out. And over here we have the parts that we're currently using. So as you see, for power, we have 1 slot, for propulsion, 2 slots, and for all the other things too. So around us are things that we can build a robot with. So everything you see around here can be right-clicked, and you get an information thing. The most important things are the slots where the things go to and all the other stats, but one thing at a time. For starters, we're just going to fetch ourselves some legs. You can click on them and then click again, or you can use the numpad, walk over there, and press G for getting the item. So you can then just click the aluminum leg to equip them, and to get rid of them you can just click them here again, dragging and dropping them outwards back onto the ground. But we want to keep those legs. So at this point of the game you get also the option to go for wheels or treads. Whatever you do, don't mix them. You either take wheels or legs or treads, but not a mixture of these. This will lead to failure. Whatever propulsion you take, what's important is they influence the time you need to move, the energy you need to move, the heat you generate while moving, and the amount of support they provide for whatever you build on top of that. This is very important because if you want to build a tanky robot, for example, let's take a look at the treads, they provide much more support than the legs, and the wheels have the same support as the legs, but they are much faster per tile. Everything in this game has its advantages and disadvantages. Very, very important. What you need to know is that every part that you can install in your robot, which is not propulsion, has a mass. So let's move on over to an engine. So we have a power source as well. So I picked the light ion engine and I right click it again. So this one produces energy for us. So it supplies us with 5 energy per turn, it stores 25 energy for us, and it also produces 5 heat per turn. If we have more heat production than we have heat sink capacities, we overheat. So there is something you need to work around. The other stats here, very important stat, rating. This is basically the tier of the item, the higher the better. And integrity is the HP of the tile, goes 0, goes boom, is gone, needs a new one. And coverage is a number which shows how likely it is that this part will get shot. So in this example, it's a 23% chance of our engines getting shot when we get hit. So that's how you read these things. I don't think I need to explain much about active upkeep, and here we have pretty much everything there. Stability is none of your concern at this point. It's about overloading power systems, and it's nothing we need for a beginner. So I take this in, and now you see we have a higher production of energy per turn, and we also, as you can see here, we lose enough heat per turn that we have no buildup or anything like that. Okay, next things, we need weapons. So in Cogmind, you have to decide whether you want to go ballistic or energy with weapons. So the assault rifle here is a ballistic weapon, and ballistic weapons consume matter with each shot. As you see here, matter, boom, takes that. Range is pretty clear. Some weapons take, as you see, both resources, energy, and matter. Really depends. There's a ton of different items in the game. And what's really important is if a weapon produces heat, at some point you just need to stop firing. Lasers produce much more heat than ballistic weapons. So energy weapons are producing heat, take no matter, but they take energy and heat as a resource, whereas ballistic weapons produce mostly lesser amounts of heat, but they need matter for being used. Matter, by the way, gets dropped by pretty much everything you shoot. So it's just the bits and bobs and parts. Recoil makes everything less accurate when they fire at the same time. In this game, you can choose whatever, however weapons you want to have, how many weapons you want to have. You're only starting with these amounts of slots. And basically, if the weapon has a high recoil, it's better to use it as a singular weapon and not use it in a volley. Ideally, if you want to have lots of guns, you want to look for low amounts of recoil. Targeting is just a bonus or a minus on your to-hit chance, and delay is, well, the quickness of the fire of the weapon. You know, it's just very simple. There's a big fat cannons, they have a high delay, and there's sleek small guns, and that's that. There's also a lot of stats coming down to the types of damage. I'll boil it down to every kind of damage has a different way of wrecking the enemy and you. So ballistic weapons destroy just parts, laser weapons melt the parts, electronic ECM weapons and EMP weapons just overload the parts and make them salvageable. So there's a lot of things here, but I don't need to explain more than that. For starters, we're going to pick up 2 assault rifles, or at least die trying, and install them. So now we have utility slots open, as you see there. The small storage unit is just one of these. So as you see, it gives us inventory capacity, and the cost of that is increasing the mass of our robot. So we pick that up. And now we equip it. And now we are a tad bit heavier, but, well, we can now carry more things. Down here you see the inventory. If we unequip that, it's 0.5, and if we equip that back up again, it's just like that. So down here you also have a couple of filters. So you have the coverage meter, so you can see how likely it is with, to hit that one of your parts gets hit. So for us here, for example, we have the highest likelihood of our legs getting hit. But don't you worry, it's normal in this game for parts getting destroyed. Then we got the energy rating. So this is basically just how much energy does it produce and how much does it consume. Then we got the integrity. That's basically showing the HP before its stuff is breaking. And then we got the info screen, which, well, it is very, very different and hard to read. I really dislike that one most of the time. I'd recommend you to stick with the integrity part. So now let's start moving. Around you, you see green dots. That's friendly robots, but don't get it mistaken. This scavenger is just not hostile. The scavenger is picking up stuff around it. Every entity in this game has a function, as it is a robot, you know. Robots have functions. So this guy here is just picking up random stuff from the ground. He can be super annoying if you just shut down a really high value target and you just wanted to pilfer the parts, and this guy comes around the corner and wants to pick up the parts. And now I'm going to show you what you do then. So you press F, so you get into firing mode, and then you see the amount of chances how to hit the guy here on your weapon things. So 49%. Why is that so bad? We're that close. This is because we're currently running. So I right click and now I press 5 on the numpad to wait, and you see movement changes from running to walking. Now I press F for fire again, and just like that, our accuracy went up by a lot. Don't try to fire while running. That's very, very important. This is the downside of legs, by the way. Wheels and treads allow you to do a lot of fun other things, but you'll get it there. So let's fire, and as you see there, we see now combat log. Up here you have similar filters again for allies intel. That's pretty much stuff you have looted intelligence-wise. Log, just the stuff that happened around you, and combat, what happened there. So we see how likely it was to hit and how much damage we did. We just repeat that and repeat that. As you see here, it takes a while to take down the robot. We do achieve hits, and the thing just flees. We didn't take it down. Well, we just wasted some matter, but it is not much of a big deal. Around you here, I'm zooming in, you see now other things, excavators. These are just doing their jobs as well. You could now shoot them down and loot their parts, because if you look at them here in this list, you see their components. You also see what armaments they got and a lot of other interesting things around you. One of the most important things is check out the core integrity of the robots that you want to fight, as the higher this number goes, the more dangerous the target is in general, or at least the beefier it is and the more damage you'll need to take it down. Now, let's get upstairs and get into the actual game. This was just a tutorial chamber to give you a starting gear where you can decide what kind of weapons you want to have. And now, you see, we're at location -10. The real game starts. Your goal now is to survive and find the stairs to the next area and get yourself some upgrades. So, around you see these yellow thingies, that's doors, and around you there's loot. So here we find an EM pulse gun, so that's an electromagnetic weapon. Take your time to study these, especially when you are new to the game, and just stick to what you want to. The most important thing though, in my humble opinion, is go for a certain specialization. So for example here, I'm gonna try to stick to ballistic guns for the time being. But with this game, you will always lose the parts that you're wearing sooner or later, either because they get destroyed or because you find something better. This is all tier 1 gear. You will want to replace that. So here's an ECM suite, which makes the enemy less likely to find you. And when you find new stuff, always keep an eye on stuff like this. So the ECM suite might be cool because it's stealthing you, but it's also eating up a ton of energy. So I picked something up I didn't want to have, so you can now either drag and drop it out of your inventory, or you just press Alt, hold it, and then press the corresponding number that you see here. So Alt 1 to drop it, if you want to have some keyboard. Personally, I'm a big fan of keyboard. So here we have an HCP matter pod. This stands for high capacity. So this is, as you see here, many items in this game can be modified. There is the assault rifle, which is a light assault rifle. The matter pod is not always a high capacity matter pod. The storage unit is not necessarily a small one. So this thing just allows you to carry more matter around, at the cost of increasing your mass. So basically you're making yourself slower, because if you have too much mass, you will go slower. And this is just how these things work. You get to select for yourself how your robot should work, and then you just stick to your plans. But you have inventory slots, fill them with spare parts. So for example, in my situation, I'd love to get some replacement legs, because these break all the time, and I'd love to get me some replacement guns as well, because these tend to break all the time as well. If you want to know what's worth to hoard, go for the coverage menu. Everything which has a high coverage is going to be very likely to break. Next thing on the list, terminals. As you see here, there's a green T standing for terminal. And here's our first hostile, a technician. This guy is getting into our way. First off, zooming in. Yellow stands for hostile entities in general. Let's right click him. The technician, it has spotted us and now will roll over to the terminal to lock it down, because he wants to summon friends to stop us from doing so. And while I was walking there, he was faster than I. This is normal. It would have been smarter to shoot the guy, but I just wanted to illustrate what happens. So usually you would be able to hack on these terminals, but this opportunity has been locked. Even worse, there's now soldiers moving on to our location. You could now shoot the technician in a fit of rage, but it wouldn't help you. You saw that flaring up there? That was noise. So here we have a scout unit which will now get intel on us, and now a mercenary is around the corner. So these are the first guys that will shoot after you. So the scout, as you see there, has no armaments, and neither has the technician. He has only a data jack, which allows him to hack people. The mercenary, though, is the first real enemy. Has pretty low core integrity, rolls a small laser on legs with a heatsink. So we don't want to fight on this hallway, though, so I'm walking down to this place. While I am walking, I am harder to hit. This is very important to note. So here I'm now standing next to the door, zooming in to get the closer details to the attention. I'm now pressing 5 and just wait. The mercenary saw where I entered and is now standing in front of me. I'm pressing F now, and as you see here, I have a pretty decent high hit chance with 71%, and we just now keep firing. As we keep firing, the accuracy increases as well, because this is an automatic weapon. It gets a bonus for consecutive hits. And as you see here, it takes a while for us to take down the guy, but eventually he'll keel over. This is also problematic, has been so problematic because our weapons here, the light assault rifles, are really the lowest quality. Here we found an ion engine, which is an upgrade to our light ion engine. And the thing is, you don't need to worry about anything as long as you have core HP. Basically, parts, they might go wear down, but as long as your core remains, everything is fine. As you see here, scavengers come and pick up the spare parts. So, terminals. I want to explain hacking. So at terminals, you always get several different things. Right-clicking gives you a tooltip that gives you intel about what they do. There's a percentile chance behind it, how likely it is to succeed at that. Every terminal has a chance to give you some lore bits, blueprints that allow you later to manufacture items out of matter. There's a lot of things that you can do here. For starters, we just click that, and as you see there, we have now a chance of detection. We are basically successful at the hacking, but enemies will come to the terminal now to check what is happening here. So you can now either check out the other points or you just go away. Here we had an interesting lore bit about the mines, and this is what these terminals roughly are good for. You can do many things. You can, as you see here, reprogram traps. You can check out where the enemies are at. You can check out where the you can check out things about the whereabouts. Every terminal is a little bit different than the other, and they are basically little information loot stashes, which are very valuable. The manual command thing is for those of you who like to experiment around, so it gives you full-on keyboard access, and the really interesting part is your commands get auto-filled. So if you are onto something, you see, you get it there. So everything you do, let's do the locate traps thing. So you see here, traps, locate. So you can memorize these and use them to your own liking. There's a whole little mini game of sorts hidden behind that. But here, we now unlocked knowledge about the alarm traps, and that is what it's all about. So as you see here, we actually got ourselves quite out of trouble here. So there's enemies around us, and we're now just going to do what smart people do. We're going to run around until we find a room where we can hide from the baddies and try to shoot them while they're walking into our faces. Or they lose us, which would be equally good. In this game, it is really not wise to take every fight that you can get. Here we had no clear line of sight. So now we can only pray that our measly peasly gun is good enough. Yeah, it is. And now we can check out if the enemy has something better. If not, just take some spare parts, for example, a leg or two, a heatsink if you want to go for energy weapons, never hurts, and there's the next trooper. So the goal in each level is to A, survive the enemies that you will attract eventually, and B, get yourself all the parts that you want to proceed. This is a pretty unlucky run, but well, stuff like that happens. As you see here, I got shredded quite hard. One of my legs broke, so we're just going to install a new one. Pick up a couple of these. I don't like the low quality one, so I'm dropping that. There's a particle gun. There's the first rating 2 gun. Strongly recommend to fill up your gear with weapons like these. This is not a preferred weapon of mine. It is an energy weapon. It is not really what I want to have, but I'm still installing it because it's better than the stuff that I got right now. You can also deactivate guns. So if I click this one, it's not grayed out. And if I fire, it's not going to be activated anymore. This way you can configure what kind of guns you want to use. And since I am now running energy weapons, I'm also going to build in that improved heatsink. There we go. That thing does reduce a lot of heat buildup at a very, very low cost of energy. So we're now going to go and install the small laser accompanying that, and we keep the light assault rifles for another day. I'm going to ditch the light engine because we can pick up proper engines, and off we go. And this is in its core how you play Cogmind. So our next goal now is to find the next staircase to escape and get our core healed. And from this point on, a world is your oyster. Play this game as you see it fit. Everything around you has a function. Everything around you has a way how you can play with it. So for example, just to give you a couple of ideas, here's a transporter. I'll show you what we can do with transporters. So I'll move up close to that thing, and I fire at it. And look at that. The thing popped open and it had a lot of loot because stuff is being transported. The scavengers, they pick up things and transport them to recycling units where they recycle the scrap. There's a lot of different terminals, repair terminals, manufacturing terminals, and so on and so forth. But with the things that I've shown you, you are able to understand how stuff works. The mainstay of this game here is to find the stuff that you want to use and make it work. There's special weapons like a welding torch, so you can even build a scrappy robot if you want to. And the utility things are very, very diverse and must be read carefully and handled specifically. So here, see hover units, and this is what I wanted to go for. So once you're done with a level or you're so dinged up that you want to escape, you go for a staircase. If you catched enough intel, you can even discern where the staircases will go. The terminals will show you the way. But what's really important is every level that you climb up, you get evolution parameters. And this is, for example, now I could install a second power source and another weapon. And as you see there, I get now new slots. This setup, for example, would be really good for an energy weapon intense setup where we need to produce a lot of energy to keep everything going. It is up to you to build your stuff as you see fit. There is no this is the best way to do it, as it really depends on what you're building and what you want to build. What's really important as a last word of advice for this game: stay creative and stay ready to just swap around your strategy on the fly if you have to. I've had it so many times that I basically survived on one single leg and one of my last guns creaking and smoking and burning. I had enough core energy still, so I just picked up the remains of the enemies that I just slaughtered, and I was a different robot than before, but I still was able to do things. This is so cool about this game, as there is no skill tree, no experience point system, nothing. It's just the slots that you pick up which are really defining your character. And so far, you can do a lot of different things with that. Of course, for example, this setup with an extra power source favors energy weapons, which eat up a lot of energy. But it doesn't mean that you can't use it differently. We could go for insanely energy-heavy utility things, shields for example, and use still ballistic weapons. So there's a lot of versatility in this game, and I'll leave the rest up to you, because I think you should now know enough of what you're doing. There is also a very, very good in-game manual documenting all the mechanics in detail, so check it out. I can only recommend if you feel like, I want to know how things work more in detail. There's a lot of things. I covered the base mechanics as good as I could. I think I catched all the most important parts. Let me know if I didn't. I am no expert at this game, but I do love it, and I think I understood the most important parts. So, thanks for watching. I hope you can enjoy Cogmind, because this game seriously deserves your attention if you like roguelikes, because this is one of the best classic roguelikes that's been designed currently, and it's so unique. It's wonderful. It's basically the best sci-fi roguelike that I know of. End of the... Oh no, there's still... No, I can't say that. Approaching Infinity is also existing. I'm digressing. Leave me your comments, leave me your thumbs up, consider subscribing, and have some robot fun. Check out the description box. There's plenty of links to go around. Feel free to support the channel. Big thanks to everybody who does so. And a big thanks for you for staying around until the very end. See you guys next time.